Manuel, and I'm very, very happy to be here this evening to bring you up to speed with the latest revolving around the world of sports. Top one our menu this evening, we shall take a look at the latest revolving around the world of sports. It's going to be an impressive weekend as Manchester City, of course, will lock on against Manchester United in the FA Cup. It promises to be an exciting one, as well as other stories revolving around the world of sports. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Immortality as an athlete, 19.79. It's a goal, it's 8 goals.
Every day, our lives are changed by history.
We are one people, all of us.
Leaders, politics.
Nobody's ambition is
beyond the mountains, through the Sahara. We bring on sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economy, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Welcome back at the Sport Extraordinary on Television Network. Joining me on today's edition for the show is Emmanuel. Michael, good evening to you, Michael, and welcome to the show.
Good evening, Kingsley, and good evening to sports fans.
All right, yesterday, the Senate passed for a second reading and executive bill tag National Anti-Doping Bill 2024 during plenary. The President of the Senate referred the bill to the Senate Committee on Sports and asked it to report back to the Committee of Whole in 2 weeks. The bill seeks to domesticate and enforce in Nigeria the United Nations Educational and Scientific Cultural Organization Convention Against Doping. It also seeks to implement Nigeria's obligation to the World Anti-Doping Code, international standard, and related matters. As it states, and recall that the Senate's leader, Senator Opeyemi Bamidele, had earlier introduced the bill to the Senate during the plenary, and the bill, if passed, would regulate substances that can be consumed by Nigerian athletes during sports and events. Michael, what do you make of this move, by the Senate in terms of enforcing the anti-doping rules down here in Nigeria?
I think it's a very, very lofty idea coming in from the Senate leader talking about Senator Opeyemi Bamidele. I think for me it was right on point because over the years we've seen how doping issue and scandal have actually rocked the Athletic Federation of Nigeria, where we've seen so many of our athletes caught in the web of doping issues and all of that, and it brings a lot of shame and ignominy to the country. So for me, I think it's a nice one, and they are collaborating with the UNESCO to ensure that this one is also properly implemented. I believe they are also ashamed by the past record of some Nigerian athletes who, for whatever reason, has been on the limelight for the wrong reason in terms of doping issue. So for me, I think it's a nice one, a nice call, and if they domesticate this one and it becomes very effective, that is going to also put more of a check to some of our athletes so that they can be able to restrain themselves from taking some of this banned substance, so that they can also continue to do well, in the international stage, and also to put the countries on a good light, and not any time you begin to hear so many Nigerian names that an athlete have tested positive for one banned substance or the other. I can mention about 5 Nigerian athletes have also, been inflicted by ban courtesy of the fact that they took part in a, banned substance or doping issue. So for me, I think it's a very, very lofty idea coming in from the senator out there talking about Senator, Bamidele Opeyemi out there. So if it is domesticated, it's going to be a great one, and it will also help to improve sports generally and athletes generally here in the country, where we know that anybody competing in whatever category, know that you are competing on a clean slate. Even when you get to make your mark out there, then your mark will stand a test of time, because we've seen some of our athletes taking part in one banned substance or the other ahead of a major competition. When they go and win either gold, silver, medal, at the end of it all, when they are tested and found positive, such a medal is often retrieved from them, and it is a big disgrace to the country. So I think it's a wake-up call for the athletes to also, do the needful by making sure they stay away from some of these banned substances, so that they can continue to bring glory to the country and not shame.
All right, let's look forward to see this one, of course, come to reality. Just like Michael said down there, it will go a long way in making sure that Nigerian athletes tend to perform in global competition clean. We'll see how far this one will go. We hope the Athletic Federation of Nigeria, of course, will yield to this, and when it's actually being passed, and then maybe put the athletes as well on a favorable state heading to any competition. We saw what happened in the last Olympics, that's the Tokyo Olympics, where about 10 Nigerian athletes, of course, I think maybe were suspended or something due to not having a proper test before the competition. But let's stay away from that now as we take a look at basketball. Rivers Super's point guard Wee Perry has promised his teaming fans that they will give their best at the playoff for the 2024 Basketball African League in Kigali, Rwanda. Michael, what do you make of River Supers this time? They're in the second stage, and they'll be playing a familiar foe, talking about AS Douanes of Senegal at this stage of the competition. What do you make of this encounter tomorrow?
It's going to be a very keenly contested encounter, because, like you say, they are meeting a familiar foe. We met at the Sahara Conference league out there in Senegal. We won them in the first leg, and they won us the return leg. I mean, it is not a team that we are not aware about. It's a team that we also played in the recent past. So for me, I think it's going to be a very keenly contested encounter. But I expect Rivers Hoopers, to continue to blaze on from that fine form. We've seen them starting from the Sahara Conference, where they actually played a total of 6 games, winning 4 out of those games. And I think for me, if they continue with that impressive run, I tell you, maybe just maybe Rivers Hoopers will come out, top in that very one come this weekend. But like I said earlier, it's going to be a very difficult call to make here, because here's when they are not pushover. They are also a very strong side. But looking at the quality within the ranks of very Divine AK, these are some of the point guards that have been very, very good, since the start of this Basketball African League. And for the fact that they are a new injection into the team, and they have proven their worth, that the money that were used by the Kingsmen to sign them is not for a waste, because these 5 foreign imports have been very, very instrumental in their fine run so far. So I think the die is cast. Let's hope that Rivers Hoopers is going to do the needful by making sure that they come out with a maximum victory come this weekend against AS Douanes.
I will hope that Rivers Supers, of course, will come out with the maximum victory. It's been an impressive ride for the Kingsmen so far in the basketball, African League this time around. But the coach of the side, Ogo Daudu, is optimistic that Rivers Supers, of course, will make a podium finish.
Yeah, I think I would also, be very optimistic as well, just like in Nigeria, because Rivers Hoopers is our own. They are the only team representing us out there, flying our flag very high, and they're doing us very proud, and that is why we must identify with them. And of course, I also line my thought with that of Coach Odaudu, because I think we must also give him kudos for what he's done so far. Within the short period of time he had you know, he was able to blend these new imports with the old players, and they are getting their rhythm, getting their mojo going. I think for me, he's done a great job, and for him to come out to the media to, you know, speak with such confidence, it tells you that indeed he truly knows his onions. And for me, I think I want to agree with him that we have what it takes to, you know, get a positive result.
This is the second stage of the competition. What are you expecting than what we saw in the Sahara Conference? What are your expectations from the players as well as the manager Ogo Daudu at this stage of the competition?
I expect them to raise their tempo. They raise their bar, raise the bar of their game, because looking at it right now, you know, we've passed the stage of the Sahara Conference. There, you may want to say, yes, the team that you played against, they are not the same team entirely that you are going to play in this second phase. You are going to meet with a different team entirely, and that means you must also up your game to be able to, you know, stay top out there, because you don't even have knowledge or how you must prepare for whatever that comes your way, because if you must become a champion, then you need to beat the best of the best in whatever group that you find yourself in, whatever stage that you find yourself. You must be able to give a good account of yourself, give your all, improve in so many areas, defensively wise, attacking wise. Make sure you are able to take all your three pointers as well, because these are some of the areas that I also think that Rivers Hoopers player, they need to also help. You can take a look at the NBA. Just a few days ago, we saw how the player of Bolton Celtics was able to use within, was it 60 seconds to, to level up their game against Indiana Pacers, even when they were down by 104, make a very strong statement in this very one. So that is what I expect them. I expect them to up their game.
Let's see how it goes for River Supers. Another stage for the competition, the second stage, of course, you will say, and they have, we have big names already, the likes of Ahali of Egypt, Ahali, Benghazi of Libya, River Supers is there. US, interesting one as well, coming from one of the legends of table tennis down here in Nigeria, talking about Funke Oshunaike. She has regret the falling standard of sports in the country, sharing her displeasure in a chat with newsmen. The German-based multiple medalist regretted the death of quality players as compared to the past, citing Kodri Aruna as the only prominent Nigerian player. The record 7-time Olympian particularly bemoaned the death of female tennis players and called for sponsorship and exposure for aspiring players. What do you make of this one coming from Funke Oshunaike?
Before she could, say such, it means truly she has been following the game over the years here, and the falling standard of the game here, especially the female category, especially of the likes of Funke Oshunaike, Fatima Bello, then the upcoming, Edem, who is of young Edem, who is also trying her best to, put Nigerian name on the map. Which other player that will readily come to your mind in the female category? Even the ones that we are praising, they've actually attained that height. Yet they are still far away from, the best in the world when in terms of the ranking out there. So for me, it clearly tells you the falling standard generally. If not for the coming of Senator John Waneno that is trying to revive and revamp sporting activity here in the country, I tell you, the past sport minister talking about the khaki wearing one, Solomon Dalong, he did his best, but for me, I think his best wasn't good enough. It's not all about wearing khaki and parade all around the country to, go and talk to the media that you are doing this. At the end of it all, we did not see any tangible proof after he left office, because for me, I think Senator, Dalong, the Minister Dalong, who was then the sport minister, for me, he was a failure, because I cannot actually see any sporting area that we say, okay, this is the area he touched, so for me.
Will you blame Dalong maybe for the setback the Table Tennis Federation has experienced so far? Will you blame him for the setback?
He's part of the setback, because as a sport minister,
how is he part of the setback?
As a sport minister, what was your plan? What was your intention? What was the program on ground to enhance tennis development in the country during his era?
That is not really his job to be able to look at that. The Table Tennis Federation, they have the president who is supposed to sit down and outline programs and maybe look for a way to innovate or maybe develop table tennis in the country, just like we have currently. I think from there, when the president outlined the strategy, maybe the plans, maybe tournaments and all of that, if you don't have enough fund or maybe anything, you take it to the sport ministry and say, these are plans. We don't have enough fund to execute this and that. And then the sport ministry will now look for a way to weigh in and survey the situation, just like we've seen them always weighing in for the NFF. And sometimes some other federation as well.
And
that's why I won't really blame Dalong for maybe the setback in the Table Tennis Federation.
Then I guess you need to take the blame. If you are not blaming Dalong, you need to take the blame because
you have to blame the president of the federation as at then.
Excuse me, as a minister of sports, you have probably 4 years in office. Then after your 4 years in office, nothing to show for your ministry, the ministry that you've overseen for the past 4 years. And you are now telling me that we will shift the blame to the different sport head after you have left office in 4 years. That is not it. And you would have asked yourself, why is it that Senator John Uwaneno, since he came on board, he has been working with different sporting federation units to ensure that
about this. This is a new year. We've seen table tennis, competition. At the All-African Games, we saw the Table Tennis Federation. They went down to participate. And currently, there will be a World Table Tennis Championship in Lagos. And this will be the second time. So what we're talking about at this point is grassroots development of table tennis players. Funke Shineke is talking about the fact that there's setback because we don't have stars like Cherola, who is currently the coach for the Table Tennis Federation at the moment. Aruna Quadri, the likes of Fatima Bello of with them, they are not really living up to expectation. In fact, they are well down. They are down the pecking order when it has to do with rankings of table tennis in Africa, talk less of the world, at this point in time. So, for me, I think the sport ministry is working with what the federation has put up. These are programs for the year. Of course, you know that money will actually be disbursed to the federations. This is what you need to do. If the money is not enough, you also have to seek for sponsorship, and say how you can actually do whatever you have to do. So, the president of the Table Tennis Federation of Nigeria have a lot of questions to answer. What has he been able to do in terms of, unearthing talents, table tennis talents in the country? So for me, I don't really think we should hang it on that long at the moment. In our country, one thing we always observe is the fact that progression has been the problem. Whenever this government is done, the next to not come to carry on or to start from where the other governments, stopped. So that's been the situation of things. So for me, Michael, I don't think Dalong should be held responsible for this setback.
As much as you are still trying to play the devil's advocate in favor of Solomon Dalong, but take it or leave it, I think he's part and parcel of the problem, because it's just like saying that after the 4-year tenure of Senator John Uwaneno and the sporting activity doesn't go down well, you are saying that we will also absolve him from all of the blame, if everything does not go along. It should be part and parcel.
The ministry is part of it, but you can't give, let's say, you can't actually lay it on them alone. The federation.
Yes, of course, it's a collective responsibility that the sport ministry, whether the tennis federation, they have their own part of the blame as well. But then, as a head, as sport minister, but you are the head. You houses all of this ministry. So whatever goes wrong, it's just like you now saying that, the president, talking about Bola Ahmed Tinubu right now, he has also designated position and responsibility to other people, name the ministers and all of that. And you are now telling me, if the government of this President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not go well after his 4 years tenure, you are now telling me that we should also absolve the president from the blame why his government did not go well. We should now hinge the blame to the minister that he has appointed. I mean, it's a general thing, because it's like likened to the parable that when one finger touches an oil, he rubs to the rest, and he is the head of the sport ministry. So in as much as he is the head, the federating units, whether tennis, taekwondo, football, basketball, name it, if they fail in their own responsibility, it is also a failure to the sport minister, because the sport minister is like the head that is housing all of this ministry. So I'm not like trying to totally hinge the blame on the past sport minister talking about Solomon Dalong. But I think he's part and parcel of the reason why tennis have refused to thrive in the country.
But I think you're even going too far. That's why I'm saying you shouldn't actually maybe hold Solomon Dalong responsible. After Solomon Dalong, we have Sunday Dari.
Yeah, and that is why we saw a little bit of improvement during his era in the tennis federation. I mean, in his era, that is when you begin to hear some of these big names.
No,
like,
we've been hearing of these names.
Have you heard of Edem? When last did you hear of Edem?
We've been hearing of Edem of recent.
During which era?
During
Sunday
Darius era.
Solomon Dalong's era.
Sunday Darius era, Edem was there.
And that is what I'm saying. That Solomon Dalong didn't bring anything to the table, and that is why I said that when Sunday Darius came in, we saw a little bit of improvement.
Okay, when Solomon Dalong was there, the likes of Funke was still playing. She's a 7-time Olympian. Cody Rona was still on fire.
Yes.
As at then, Cody was, I think, when it has to do with Africa, I think he's currently #1. I think maybe #1. I think Omar Assar has taken his position as #1. But in the world, Omar Assar was taking up to like 10th position. We understand that, Aruna Cody was taking like 10th on the world ranking, but we know he has gotten a little bit of decline. So even at that time, the likes of Funke and the rest, they were doing well. Before the time of Sunday Dari, the performance dropped. That's why, of course, yes, Ofiongwedem and Fasim Ebelo, they stepped up. But where are they in the ranking? That's what I'm talking about. So I think that my concern here is you're bringing Solomon Dalong.
Yes, because he's very instrumental. Like, he's the one that began all of this decline that we are having in sport. I mean, it's like you are very aloof of Solomon Dalong record, and that is why possibly you are trying to play to the gallery by, I don't know whether you are shielding him, you are now speaking on his behalf, because I actually perused through his achievements in his time, during his time in office. And that is why I am able to score him, out of 10%, I score him 2/10 because of his poor performance then. So that is the major problem, and that is why we began to see this massive decline in sport development. It was when Sunday Dari came in that we began to see a little bit of revitalization of sport activity here. If you are doubting it, you can go back and check the achievement of Solomon Dalong and see whether it is at par with what we are seeing today.
I understand what you're saying. For me, just like you mentioned,
I doubt if you do understand, because if you understand,
when we have Sunday Dari,
yeah,
I'm really enjoying the conversation.
His time it was also very instrumental.
Of course, you could know that these federations came up with this, and the Post Minister was able to see a need for it and was able to, cooperative organization started adopting these athletes for sponsorship. They sponsor them and all of that. That's why you see some athletes, being asked. Some of them are schooling outside the country. It was a result of the prowess of, Sunday Dari coming in to aid them with that particular strategy. So that was it.
You're also aligning.
You must draw a template for the ministry to come in. Just like the NFF will say, oh, we cannot hire a foreign manager, we don't have the money. The NFF are responsible to pay any coach. But in the situation where they can, that's when the sport ministry comes in to look into the matter. So I'm saying, yes, it's a general thing. The sport ministry, the federation should be involved. But the thing is, the president of the Table Federation, as at when Dalong was in charge, or when Dalong was during his time, what was he doing? So even as when Sunday Dari was there, who was there? What was he doing? So for me, good for the good of the team, Dalong didn't have a good record during his time as the sport minister.
He did not.
But will you carry this matter at this point, this setback to put on him that he is the reason?
Of course, you need to go back in retrospect, because if you don't know the root of a problem, you cannot possibly solve it entirely. You need to go back and dig deep into the root of the problem before you can be able to solve it. And I've dug deep and saw that the root of the problem started when Solomon Dalong was in power during his regime. There was no proper template laid for any of the sporting strata on, say, this is the roadmap, this is what we want to follow.
After Dalong left, there was full 4 years before Eno. Yes, there was full 4 years.
Before Eno?
Before John Eno.
And that is where we began to see a little bit of template when Sunday Dare came in.
A little
He was
bit.
able to...
What has been the improvement since Sunday Dare left? Or since during the Sunday Dare's time?
What has been the improvement?
Yes.
And you ask yourself, how long have...
4 years.
That this present Senator
We're
John
talking about
Owaneno
Sunday Dare's regime.
Okay.
Since Dalong left and Sunday Dare came in, what has been the improvement in table tennis?
You also went back. You are even shooting yourself on the foot. You said when Solomon Dare came in, he was able to, roll out a template. You also stated here that during his era, we were able to do well in athletics.
But I know that during his time, yes, we had much improvement in athletics. We saw some athletes were being adopted, some were given sponsorship to go study abroad. We had massive improvements globally in athletics. But I'm asking, talking about table tennis, I said after Dalong left, we have full 4 years. So if you're saying it's the job of the ministry to look at it, what did Dare did in table tennis? Because I'm trying to say, no matter how we're looking at it here, Dalong should not be brought into the picture 100%. We should also look at...
I'm not putting him 100% in the picture as though he's the only one that is responsible. It's, it is an issue that we have faced over the years because continuity seems to be the problem. When one government leaves office and lays a good foundation, a good template for a successor to build on it, it is very difficult in this part of the climb for us to build on that template that was set by previous person, and that is why we find it difficult. When Solomon Dalong left, he didn't lay any structure. There was no template on ground to build on. Can you build on nothing? You can't build on nothing. But when Sunday Dare came in, that is when we began to have a little bit of template to build upon. Where we have the athletic, there was a little bit of improvement there. Weightlifting, we saw a little bit of improvement.
We're talking about table tennis. What has been the improvements even during the time of Sunday Dare in table tennis?
Well, during his time in office as a sport minister, you stated here that the likes of, was it Haruna Quadri, Fatima Bello, they were doing pretty well.
I didn't say that.
That was what you said.
No.
Take it or leave it.
I even told you that Torola, the current coach, and Haruna Quadri and the rest of the players then, during their long time, at least they had a little bit of performance. I didn't say much about Sunday Dare's regime.
Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. What has been the improvement during Sunday Dare's regime? This
thing is a general problem that will keep arguing and talk about it from now till the end.
That's what I'm telling you, that nothing has been done. That's why Funke is coming up to complain that there has been a huge decline during our time. She was 7-time Olympian. During that time, there was massive improvement. That was way back. So they were talking about the present now. They've been declined. She's talking about the fact that no growth in terms of unearthing talent, especially in the female category of table tennis in the country.
I think instead of we arguing this or talking about the setback we've had, it is better for us to even profile solution to the problem. We've spotted the problem, then there's no improvement. Then what are we bringing to the table as one of the solutions? She has been there. She is a legend of the game. What has she also contributed? What is her own quota to the system? Because for me, many were looking up to her, and many are still looking up to her as a legend in the system. And she must also bring her own wealth of experience to bear.
She's calling
what have she done on her own
to
also
an organization to come sponsor the Table Tennis Federation? Because they need money. That's what I'm talking about. They need money. When you talk about equipment, you need money to get rackets. Of course, you need money to have a better table tennis courts. Although we have one in Lagos, which we're currently using at this point. But how many of the table tennis courts do we have in the 36 states, in the country, to see? So this is the question. That's why Funke is calling us. There should be sponsorship, and for me, this is where the sport ministry comes in a situation whereby there is no sponsorship. We're talking about the Federation Cup now. There is no sponsorship. That's why the office of the president came to take up the competition. And they weren't sponsoring that. So we're calling on sponsorship. I think this is where the sport ministry have to tilt their eye and see what they can be able to do, or the federation as well. Go on their own and see how they can get sponsorship and put up grassroots competition and see how they can on-air talent. That's the only way, we can be able to skate through this. But because in the situation whereby we're only relying on Aruna Quadri is aging.
Yeah.
At this moment, I think that's why Funke is coming up. So for me, Mike, I don't think we should go bring Solomon Dalog here.
No, we need to bring him, because for the fact that you have left office doesn't mean that you have erased all the legacy, the things that you did right and the one that you didn't do right. Because
it's a general problem.
It's a general
it doesn't
problem.
hang on only one person.
No. Neither did I hang it only on him, but I'd say during his era, it was worst. The level of performance was worse. So for me, I think this is a general problem that needs a collective, responsibility from everybody. This is what you need to do. There must be a template. Let us go back to the grassroots. Let us start from the school. I remember when we used to have an effective school sport competition out there. From there, you can also churn out talent. Then, state inter-house competition. We have jettisoned that idea. All we focus now is when once in a year, maybe you gather ourselves and say, okay, we find one name, nomenclature, and give one competition and say, okay, let us bring, the players, let them come and show their skills here. Just once in a year. How then do you think you can improve sport activity or even table tennis? If you go to this to Lagos State right now, it's one of the house where you can garner good table tennis players, even in Ogun State. I've been there. I know what I'm talking about. But how far the sport ministry, the table tennis federation, are they sleeping on their odd, expecting sport journalists or the minister to come and put up a program that is going to accommodate all of this, talent that is cut across the country? So for me, I think it's a collective responsibility, one that we must take serious. Even the players is not also left aside. So when we are trying to point out some of these, setbacks, we must also try to point out a solution and be part of that solution. We shouldn't just point out problem without proffering solution or without being part of the, the solution. So she that is complaining and lamenting of the decline in the tennis federation, what has she also contributed?
She's calling on sponsors to
Okay,
come.
we'll keep calling on sponsors without taking any pragmatic step towards bringing those sponsors. But in all, I think it's a nice call. It's a wake-up call. Good thing that she has also noticed that there is a decline within the tennis federation. Some of these big-name stars that we mentioned, the likes of Haruna Quadri, Funke Oshinaike, Motayo, Edem, they cannot be there forever. Of course, we need people that is going to take up the baton of leadership from them. And if you don't organize this kind of quarterly or yearly activity programs that is going to accommodate some of these talents, how then do you think we can find a possible replacement for some of these aging, talents? We understand that the daughter of Haruna Quadri is also being trained in that regard to, take up the mantle of leadership. This is what it should be. She has also called for sponsorship. What has she done? We see Haruna Quadri, even with the wife, doing something in that regard to bring up their own kid through that line to take up, also do the pragmatic aspect of it. It's a general call to everybody, the sport ministry, everybody, even sport philanthropists that mean well for the development of the game. It will be a good one for the country.
Of course, I think the other day, the table tennis coach Terola, he came up with plans, for talent discovery, and we'll keep our fingers crossed and see how talents, of course, will be discovered in table tennis. I think we should be up there. You talk about table tennis in Africa. You should mention Nigeria, Egypt, of course. They're also there. And I think it's between Nigeria and Egypt when it has to do with table tennis, in Africa, as it says, between Omar Sarr, Aruna Quadri, Mishref of Egypt as well. Yes, Nakonda, and we look forward to see more of these players, coming up, for Nigeria. We'll take a short break now, and when we'll come back from this break, we'll bring you other matters revolving around the world of sports. Please stay with us. We'll be right back. Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. And of course, we're looking at the Table Tennis Federation of Nigeria. Funke Shodeke coming up with the fact that there have been huge setback when it has to do with talent discovery and as well the performance for the players. And we're asking who should be blamed for this setback? Is it the Table Tennis Federation, president, the players, or maybe the sport ministry at this point in time? But at the end of the day, we actually came to conclusion as a general, it's a general, problem. Everyone should put their hands, on the deck and see what they can do. But Michael, let's move down to international tennis at the moment because something huge will be coming up this weekend as Andy Murray will play former champion Stan Wawrinka in the first round of the French Open, which starts on Sunday. And surprisingly, Michael, it's a tough one at the moment. Rafa Nadal has been handed his own challenging tie against Alexander Zverev. Will he survive this? This is his first round game.
When I saw the pairing yesterday, I was like, man, it's going to be a very difficult one for Rafa Nadal to survive Zverev because Zverev has been very, very active since the last 12 months right now. Now you can't use the form of Zverev to compare with that of Andy Murray, who has been very, very inconsistent since he came back from injury. For over a year now that he has not played the active tennis, you don't expect him to have the better of Zverev. But then let me not conclude yet because this is game. Anything can happen. But then looking at their present form, it will be very, very difficult not to pinch your tent on Zverev. But like I said, let's hope that he's going to, show that his old form. Talking about Andy Murray, Rafa Nadal, because if he actually discover that his own form, maybe he's going to draw inspiration from there. Then again, considering the fact that there is no more time on his side, he want to also finish very strong. He might draw pool of strength from all of this strong. Then again, he might want to also draw strength from his past, victory as well. So possibly he might also stand very tall against Zverev. But I tell you, it's going to be a very difficult one.
He has won this 14 times. Talking about Rafa Nadal and. The clay court is his favorite, talking about, the French Open as it is. At this point now, we're talking about, form and experience. Zverev very much in form because he's been consistent, despite the fact that he has not been that fantastic, or maybe winning time. What do you make of it? Will it be form or experience this weekend? I'll
go for form rather than experience because taking a look at the form of Zverev, there is no way you can tell me that experience will have the better for a man that have not been.
As for Djokovic, you think so?
Well, likely. For Novak Djokovic, he has not been in very good form since the start of this season. In fact, he has not gotten to any major final since the start of this season, despite the fact that he's very, very technical in terms of selecting some of the competition that he wishes to take part in, because these are games that he wants to feature and he gives us his all to make sure that he clean sheets. But since the start of this season, he has not been able to.
All right, let's see how it goes for Novak Djokovic. But in the female category, Iga Swiatek, of course, is the overwhelming favorite. The women in the women's category, Sabalenka is also expected to be the player who could end her clay court dominance and faces 101 rank Erika Andreeva in our opening match. Swiatek and Sabalenka are separated in the two halves or for the draw, meaning Swiatek could face four-time major champion Naomi Osaka, who is back at Roland Garros, for the first time since returning from maternity leaves, and starts against Italy, Lucia Borsensi. American Tactical Golf has been drawn in the same half as Swiatek, meaning they could face in the semi-finals, and Goff, who lost to Swiatek in the last four in Rome last week, also begins a campaign against a qualifier or a loser at this point. But Iga Swiatek, the defending champion she is in this one, she's actually put a little bit of dominance at the French Open. What do you make of it? She's been consistent. She just won a back-to-back, a WTA title. Get into this one. Do you see her to be the favorite?
Yeah, most likely she is the favorite because looking at her form so far this season, you want to unarguably give it to her. She has been very, very good so far this season. and maintaining that spot as number one, beating Arena Zabalenka twice within the stretch of let's say 3 to 4 weeks. It's no mean feat for such a player to also have that hit that peak of her form. So I think she's going into this one as a favorite. But then this is a game that every other players also want to prove a point to the world out there. So it just boiled down for her to remain very consistent. Don't disrespect any of these players, because many times, because of the fact that you've maintained the number one position for a quite long time, because of the fact that you'll be very active, it's very high. Then when you come up against some of these less ranked players, you want to, disrespect them by not taking them serious, and that is where I think Iga Swiatek will be hurt. But so long as she maintains that consistency, so long as she keep her eyes on the ball, I tell you, she's favorite for this very one.
All right, let's stay away from tennis now to take a look at the FA Cup encounter this weekend. Michael, a very, very huge one, but Ten Hag, of course, has vowed that he has vowed to save Manchester United project this season by winning the FA Cup title.
Yeah, he should vow to save his job first, other than vowing for winning the FA Cup. Well, for me, I think Manchester United have had a very poor season so far, one of the worst in the history of Manchester United. So for me, the only way to remedy the abysmal season that they have is to win the FA Cup. I think that would give him a little bit of a soft landing if he get to win the FA Cup. Maybe, just maybe, the fans may have a change of mind, because of course that the fans have a coach. You see their body language. They come to the stadium with different placards, displaying their displeasure to the board out there, and they will do something very quick. So for me, I believe the only way for Manchester United and Eric Ten Hag to salvage the abysmal season that he has had so far for Manchester United is to win the FA Cup against Manchester City. But it's going to be a very difficult one for Eric Ten Hag and his men. Against Manchester City, that was knocked out of the Champions League. I think the only way to maintain that standard for Manchester City is to also win the league, which they have won already, and to also win the FA. Is going to be a very big mountain for Manchester United to climb. But then, in the game of football, you cannot totally, rule out any team. It's 90 minutes plus plus additional time that is going to, separate both sides. But looking at what Octopus, looking at what bookmakers are saying, sport pundits, I think in the game of football, anything can happen. That is why I'm saying that Manchester United can salvage their season by winning the FA Cup against Manchester City. But then there is a but in it. The but is that Pep Guardiola is a coach that whenever he sees a cup, not to talk of being final, he doesn't lose.
And of course, Manchester United, they have a very, very good history when it has to do with the FA Cup.
Yeah.
They've won it 13 times. I think it's only Arsenal ahead of them, with 14 FA Cup titles. This is going to be the 10th, FA Cup encounter between Manchester City and Manchester United. If you take a look at it, United ahead of City when it has to do with the FA Cup title. They've won it 5 times. City have won it 4 times. I think it should be a must win for City to level things up at this point.
Yes, and of course the 5 times that match the last season. Yeah. So since the new sheriff came in town, he has been able to comb every other team, and most of the trophy belongs to them. So trust Pep Guardiola, he will also want to equal that record, having also equaled the same record of Manchester United of being the only team under the regime of Sir Alex Ferguson to win the EPL title 3 straight times. Pep Guardiola have gone as much as equaling that record, and even set a higher record, which is winning it 4 straight times. Now, in the FA Cup, Manchester United have won it 5 times. Manchester City have won it 4 times. That will tell you how important this cup will be for Pep Guardiola, because having equaled the league record, he would also want to equal the FA Cup record as well, so that the noisy neighbor that they were called before is now taking a different shape. So I think Manchester United is becoming the noisy neighbor right now instead of Manchester City, and Manchester City want to build up on that form, thereby winning every trophy available so as to topple Manchester United, who is often calling them a noisy neighbor.
All right, Michael, shocking news this afternoon that Barcelona, they've actually relieved Xavi Hernandez of his job as the head coach of the team. What do you make of this one?
Very, very disappointing for me because, you know, Xavi dropped the hint earlier in the season that he was going to step down at the end of the season, but then the club president, talking about Joan Laporta, had to persuade, you know, Xavi Hernandez, and he had a change of mind, saying that he's going to stay because of the love he has for the club, because that is his childhood club. In fact, Barcelona is like the second family of Xavi Hernandez after his primary family, which is his wife and children. And so he was able to be convinced and stayed. And the reason for me, I think Joan Laporta had to let Xavi go is that, you know, with the rich history that Barcelona have, it will be very, very abysmal and something of a shame if Barcelona if Xavi Hernandez had to dump Barcelona. So for me, I feel it's going to be a dent on the club's image, and that is why they had to persuade him to stay, so that they in turn will now sack him, so that it doesn't look as though Xavi Hernandez is bigger than the club.
According to what we reports we got, said that Xavi Hernandez was relieved of his job because he went down to the media to disclose the financial situation of the team, and that was not good at all with the policy in Barcelona.
For me, despite that excuse, it's very open. The financial record of Barcelona is open to anybody out there. You can even access it online. You can go through it, you know. So for me, I think that is just, you know, there is this balance we use here, that if you want to kill a dog, what will you do? You hang a very bad name on that dog so that you can kill the dog. That is what it means. They just capitalized on that to say that is the reason why, you know, he was sacked. But I tell you, everybody knows the financial status of Barcelona. You know, since from the day Lionel Messi left the club, it's very open. They have been financially backward. They've been struggling financially. So it's very much open. So I just think he just try a case of giving a dog a bad name so that he will be killed. But for me, I tell you, it's not a very sensational story to hear. When I heard the news this afternoon, when he broke in, I was like, wow, this is a man, after 2.5 years that he has spent, he has won at least the league for himself. His second first season, he was able to win the league, also won another, you know, important trophy. Was it the Copa del Rey that he won as well? So I think he has done well for himself. We wish him well. He has also contributed his own quota to the success of Barcelona. Any day, anytime, I believe that he will be welcome to Camp Nou because he's part and parcel of the family. But the way he was relieved of his appointment is such a shame.
Really cool if you ask me. Really cool. I think for me, Barcelona, they've not done well when it has to do with the way of treating the club legends. We saw how Ronald Koeman was just away from Camp Nou by the fans. You know, we saw the video. Even when he was about entering his car, fans were chanting, hitting him. And this is Xavi Hernandez also being, you know, shown the exit door in a ridiculous manner. I think for me, Barcelona, they've not done well with the way they've handled their legends, you know, in the past. They should, you know, see how they can cope all of this. Messi also left in an ugly manner. It wasn't the way, of course, the man is supposed to live due to the situation.